Welcome to I Hate It Here, the podcast for HR and people professionals, making the hardest job in the world just a little bit easier. I'm Hiba Youssef.
Work doesn't have to be my entire personality. Just because I'm passionate about it, or even if I'm not passionate about it, it'll totally consume me, and I have to just put it in a little box and throw it in the dumpster.
Yeah. I have to actively remind myself, like, work is probably the least interesting thing about me. I should think about those other things first. And so, like, that's how I combat it. Because I'm like, I do this really cool job and it's cool and I love it and I'm super passionate about it and I love everyone I work with. But there's like a million more stories about me that I think people would rather know than what I do every day for work. Isn't hiring hard enough without guessing who's actually going to work out? The Predictive Index uses behavioral data to help you hire the right people and keep them thriving before things go sideways. Stop winging it and visit try.predictiveindex.com and figure out what actually drives your people. Hi, hello, it's Hiba, your resident hater, and it's time for your favorite part of the week, another episode of I Hate It Here, where I dig into topics about work and get real about the shit that is very broken at work. And this season, I gave it a theme, like I give every season, but this season's theme is the theme of firsts. Like the first time something at work changed you, challenged you, maybe broke you a little. First big failure, first big time you had to lead through chaos, first time you realized, maybe this job is not for me. And today, we're starting with one of the most universal firsts there is, the first time you quit a job. And my guest today is Lauren Schneider. Lauren Schneider is the head of brand and communications at Compt, where she is on a mission to remind companies that employee benefits are about people, not just policies. A recovered TV reporter turned PR and marketing lead, Lauren is currently obsessed with the intersection of brand storytelling and product marketing, how we talk about the products that might actually change our lives. And as a millennial mom and improv performer, she believes the right story can change a career as long as you don't lose yourself in the process. Lauren, welcome to the I Hate It Here pod.
Oh, thank you.
Improv? Did you notice me stumbling over that? You want to talk more about that right now?
I know. I was watching your face react in real time, and you're like, hang on a hot minute. Yeah, that's something that I started doing 2 years ago.
What?
Weirdly coerced into it by a friend who actually like co-owns the theater and was like, I think you'd be really good at this. And I said, over my dead body. Then I took some classes and had to perform like in a student showcase. And I feel like I blacked out. I was like, I don't know what's happening. I got off stage and I was like, I'm going to vomit. And then the entire drive home, I was like, yeah, so I'm just going to keep doing this. Like this is who I am now.
Yeah, so I'm going to make this a core part of my personality.
Yeah.
It's really interesting you say that because when people meet me for the first time, this has now happened no less than probably 5 times, they always ask me if I was a theater kid. Like, did you do theater growing up? And every time I have like the worst reaction to it because I'm like, no. But then I was like going through my memory. I actually did do theater in middle school, but I was like a background actress for like Hello Dolly and A Christmas Carol. And my mom was just like, whatever. Yeah, I'm going to indulge you in like you doing weird drama plays in middle school. And then I never did it again. But I love that you're taking improv classes because it's also something I've considered. So maybe I am a theater kid, honestly, at my core.
Do it. I'm not like a traditional theater kid because I wasn't in like any productions, but was in orchestra for the world's longest time. And then I was in marching band because I just really want to be bullied in high school.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was like looking for it. And then, graduated high school and was like, I love when people look at me, totally sarcastic. So let me like be a TV reporter too. And then I keep putting myself back on stage. I have a sickness, Hiba.
I mean, listen, there's nothing I love more. I have this podcast, so I'm allowed to say this about myself, than being the center of attention. My siblings would tell you that. They're much older than me, and so I was always looking for attention in our home, and I just carried that into my professional career. I love a minute where I can talk. My CEO was roasting me recently because at our company retreat, we like in between sessions, I would like tee up the next speaker, and then I would just hold the mic and continuous stream of consciousness talk.
Yes.
And he was like, I have never met anybody like he's like, I don't even know what you're saying next. And you just keep saying it. Like he was like, I watched you just continuously talk for 5 minutes without any script. And he was like, he was dying every time there was a break because I would just like under my breath do all my commentary.
Yes.
I'd be like, please go get your lunch. The food's going to get cold. If you're gluten free, there are options for you. If you are not, do not eat the gluten free. He was like, what is this skill you have? And I'm like, oh, I guess it's a good thing I'm a creator. Like,
Exactly.
it suck if I
If
wasn't.
if I go into it like with a script or talking points or whatever
Mhm.
else, then I focus so intently on memorizing
Mhm.
what I have to say and then regurgitating that information. And then if I forget something, then I dwell on that thing and then it blows up everything else. It's like the world's worst snowball effect. So I have to just ad lib it all. Otherwise, I'll take it with me for the rest of my life.
Hence why you're going to be good at improv. And maybe I should take an improv class.
Do it. Do
Okay.
it.
So, getting into our episode, because I feel like we could just stay on this topic forever. I have like some other,
Yeah.
lore about you and I, but I'll get to that later in the episode.
Lord.
I've been asking every guest this season my like teaser opening question. What is something you believed about work early in your career that you've completely unlearned?
Oh my God. I every day of my life is unlearning bad work habits, I have
Same,
discovered.
same.
Um, something that I unlearned, I think that work doesn't have to be this tracks based on what we were talking about. Work doesn't have to be my entire personality. Just because I'm passionate about it,
hmm
or even if I'm not passionate about it, it'll totally consume me, and I have to just put it in a little box and throw it in the dumpster.
Yeah. I have to actively remind myself like work is probably the least interesting thing about me. I should think
Yeah.
about those other things first. And so like that's how I combat it because I'm like I do this really cool job and it's cool and I love it and I'm super passionate about it and I love everyone I work with, but there's like a million more stories about me that I think people would rather know than what I do every day for work.
Yeah,
Maybe. Okay.
maybe.
Maybe I don't know. Maybe I'm not that fucking interesting hyping up myself on my own podcast.
You know what? You should always hype up yourself.
Everybody's just like, this is an episode where I just talk about how great I am. Just kidding. Would never do that. The most universal first is like the first time you quit a job, right? Like
Yeah.
when we were talking about first of the season, you were like, I should tell you the story of like this first job that I quit, and we're gonna get to the full story. But set the scene for me. Like, what was your first job? What were you doing? Where were you? How did you end up there? All the details: the who, what, when, why, where, when.
Yes. You know what's insane is I started thinking about it and I was like, well, this isn't technically my first job because I had like worked in retail before and
Yeah,
for some
same.
reason like didn't count that because I was
Same.
like, oh, whatever.
Old Navy and Ross Dress for Less were like the parts of my origin story I love.
Yeah.
Both of those
was like,
places 'cause I
Let me
worked
just
there.
sling shoes at Payless. It's fine. Um,
What Payless? I also sold
Rest in
shoes at
peace.
the men's shoe department at Dillard's in my mall. And let me
I've
tell
heard
you,
about that experience from other
the
people.
the weirdest experience of your life is selling men's shoes. I'm just gonna say that. Actually, there are probably way weirder ones, but in my origin story, selling men's shoes was just a very, I don't even want to relive it, interesting part of my life.
Yes. So after all of the retail, I thought about it as like I quit my first career,
There you go.
which felt heavy and still kind of feels heavy to think about, but like from a different perspective, from a grown perspective, because it was the second job I had within that specific career. So I spent who knows how long, all of my education, like K through 12, with the idea that I was going to tell stories. And I was like, what does that mean? How do you make money on that thing? And like have a sustainable life,
Yeah.
like, and buy groceries. Cause
Yeah.
you can't just like come out of school and write a book and be a celebrated author.
I
It's like,
wish.
that's not real.
Could've done that.
So then, because I was a person who was even I was just terrified to do things as small as like go order a slice of pizza at the counter at the pizza place. And I was like, I
Mm.
can't do this. I can't. And then I told my parents, I'm going to go to school for broadcasting. And they were like, what? Are you sure? That doesn't really track. And I did it anyway. I don't know. I like to force myself into situations, I guess, to come out of my own shell. It's I do this to myself. Like all the anxiety that I have is my own fault.
Yep.
So
Same for
spent
me.
4 years in college trying to specifically do this one thing. I was like, I'm going to be Leslie Stahl. I'm going to be on 60 Minutes. I'm going to be Keith Morrison. I'm going to do Dateline. Like,
Dang.
that's the goal, like the
You
end
really,
of it.
you aimed high. You were like, I'm going for the top.
Yeah, because I don't live in a place of sanity, and I knew that it's a long-term goal, right? So everyone's like, you got to start in local news and you work your way up to network. And then maybe you're the one of a million people who get to do that specific thing. And I was like, whatever, that's fine. I mean, every class was designed around preparing me for this career. I got out of college. I had my first news gig in like middle of nowhere, Pennsylvania, which is hilariously like only 45 minutes away from where I live right now. It trapped me. It brought me back. And it was really great, but also really grueling. I had an amazing boss, but I was like, I can't live on $12 an hour. This is crazy. I have a degree. And the people who work at the gas station next door to our building make more money than me. And it makes me feel like maybe I should be doing something else because I worked so hard for this and it's not as fruitful as I thought it would be. And everyone was like, you put in the work. You got to work your way up. And I was like, okay, sure. And then I thought the grass was greener on the other side. I was terribly wrong. This takes me to the job that I quit. I moved to Salt Lake City because, of course, I did. I don't know.
What was Salt Lake City like back then? Like right now, everything I know of Salt Lake City, I've learned from the Mormon wives, the Secret Lives of Mormon wives.
Yeah, all of that was happening while I was there. So it's, yeah.
Okay. It was, I mean, I also watch Real Housewives of Salt Lake City now. Both are very fascinating studies in human beings. Secret Lives of Mormon wives, let's not talk about it because it's wild.
It's wild.
Okay, so you moved to Salt Lake City.
Real life. Yeah. Which wasn't like totally nuts for me to do because I am from like the greater Philadelphia area, went to Arizona for school, moved back just happenstance to a news station in Pennsylvania, and then met who is now my husband and he was like, what if we went to like the Pacific Northwest or somewhere else? You have the opportunity to apply for a job and go anywhere, like do it. And I was like, okay. Because I take everything as a personal challenge and ended up getting a job in Salt Lake and moved there, signed a 3-year contract because at 23, I was like, that's a smart idea.
Yeah. Yep.
Stupid. No. I lasted there a year before I was like, I gotta quit this bitch. I can't do this.
I have so many follow-up questions. Okay, first of all, Salt Lake City. Was it like a culture shock when you got there?
Yes. Oh, it was a super culture shock. Also because I lived like 30 minutes south of the city because I couldn't find anywhere that I could afford to live. Because even though I got a pay raise that was not quite double, so it took me from like 25 grand a year to like 46, 47, rent was insanity. And the neighborhood that I lived in was very Mormon. And I didn't realize what that meant until I lived in it. I felt very like other in a weird kind of way.
Yes.
Because I've met people who are Mormon like elsewhere in the United States and maybe it's just more like relaxed.
Yes.
But in
there's scales to everything.
Yeah. In the Mecca that is Utah. It was next level. And I was like, oh, this is something.
Even watching them, there's just like a lot I've learned about the Mormon church from Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, which I understand is not a great place to learn about something in a like salacious style reality TV show.
Yeah.
But it was really interesting. Like I had forgotten it's like no drinking, no caffeine, right? No, they can have caffeine because they have the soda sweet place. But I'm butchering this already. Anyways,
It's
I imagine
confusing.
it was a culture shock to get there and to be completely different. But you lasted a whole year. What in
Yeah.
that year happened where you were like, there's no way I make it through the other 2/3 of this contract?
Yeah. So it started off okay because it was like,
As most horror stories typically do.
right, shiny new job. I was like, yeah, look at me. I moved from what is like the market DMA of 104 to 30, which is like crazy to do for your second job, and you've only done this for like 2 years.
And you were like on the air. No.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
you were like, good morning. The news story today is, I like to pretend I'm on
Yes,
the news
I
sometimes
was.
myself when I'm getting ready.
You should, but don't actually do the job.
Oh,
I was in the field, so like field reporter,
oh fuck.
and yeah,
Sorry.
and part of the job that was difficult but rewarding is that I was also my own camera woman. So it's called an MMJ or multimedia journalist, and that's how they
Okay.
get you. And you come in to, like, if you're working a day shift, for example, you come into like the 9:15 or whatever AM editorial meeting, you pitch your story for the day, you run out, you collect all the interviews,
Okay.
which is mostly you begging people to talk to you on camera. They're like, well, I'll tell you a story, but I don't want my face on TV. And you're like, that's what the news is.
That's
What do you
actually,
mean?
I need your face on this. This is not an anonymous witness protection survey style interview.
Yeah, and people are totally fine, and then you like punch the record button and it's like all the blood leaves their body and they just like panic, and you're like, "No, just look at me. It's fine. We can make it through this. I'm asking very easy questions." You do that, then you edit all of the video together, and then for the, 4, 5, 6, whatever time newscast it is, depending on the station, you set up your camera out in the field wherever you need to be recording for the story. Um, you like plug in the little backpack thing so you can go live, and then you just stand there by yourself and you wait to go live, and then they toss to you and you're like, "Hi, I'm here and I'm going to tell you about my story," et cetera, et cetera. And then you sign off, you pack up, you go home, you write the web story, and then upload that. And yeah, it's not a 9-hour day.
So it's like influencing, but with real news.
Yeah.
Because like
Yeah.
I'm thinking about all the influencers out in the wild filming their own content, and I was just thinking like, you really broke the mold for a lot of people, right? You were just out there. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Journalism is
It was
very serious.
me single-handedly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Journalism is one of, so I've worked at 2 media companies. I would say it's like one of the hardest and also most underpaid jobs out there.
Mhm.
And it would like watching media companies die today or be bought up by tech oligarchs really scares me because we always talk about it in school, like, right? Like media is the fourth branch, it's the unofficial fourth branch of the government, right? Did you ever
Yeah.
hear that in like social
Yeah, the
studies
whole
class?
freedom of the press. I mean,
Yeah.
we had an entire I feel like that was my one-on-one class in college.
Yeah. And now, I mean, I'm like looking at the state of media and I'm just like, ah. And so you're telling a story where like, I'm going to be so serious. I was too weak for that. Like if they were like, you go out in the field, record yourself, you do this and write the story, I'd be like, I don't think I'm qualified. Like, I didn't go to
Yeah.
journalism school. In fact, one of my wildest stories and core memories to this day, I in high school thought I wanted to be a writer. Thought I was going to be like an English major. I mean, I am a writer now, but I don't know. Am I? I guess I'm a writer. I have a newsletter, whatever.
It
But
counts.
one of the accounts, right? But one of the classes I took in high school was journalism. And they
Mhm.
had a local journalist come to us, like a print journalist come to us to class to like give us like a talking to on like if we were going to pursue the career. And the
Amazing.
first thing this man said, the year was 2006, maybe 2007. He said, don't go into journalism. Print journalism is dying. And I'm like,
Yeah.
in my journalism class, my journalism teacher's like looking at him, looking at us. And I'm just like, so maybe I shouldn't go into
You're like, "Oh
like,
my god, he went
I
off
feel like
script."
immediately that I was like, I can't do this. I also like couldn't be an English major because they made you read a lot of Shakespeare. And I was like, I've done my fair share of Shakespeare. I don't want to be reading no more. So I ended up being a government major, which was a writing major, but with a history focus essentially. Because all my finals were writing based classes. But
That makes
it
sense.
was very interesting because you are so much stronger than I could ever be because I would have crumbled the second I had to hit record out in public. I'm good at
Oh,
it
God.
now at 20 in my early 20s. When you're so self conscious about everything. That was like
Extremely.
that was me in my early 20s. And
Same.
now, in my late 30s, I'm like, I could give a fuck. I'm in my sweatpants. I don't
Yeah.
care who sees me. It's, v- I'm just like, you were so
Yes.
brave because I could not have done
Thank
that
you.
in my 20s. I would have crumbled under being on video that young in my life.
It was a lot, especially because people always had opinions that they would email in.
Always. What
Hurtful,
is, what?
hurtful. They'd be like,
Hey,
"Who does your makeup? Who does your hair? You need to fire them." And I was like, "Oh, me? I do it. We don't have a budget for that. What are you talking about?"
So mean. I thought you were gonna be like, your news story is fake. Cause I get readers
Yeah.
who write into I hate it here with feedback. But if they ever were like, it's me that's like, my eyebrows aren't even, my lipstick looks weird. I should have done this. But I could not imagine at 20 getting that feedback or in your early
Yeah.
20s getting that feedback.
It was intense. It kind of started like that, and then as time went on, because this was post 2016, people started getting more aggressive in public, and they'd yell at you from car windows, and they'd approach you in a kind of scary way, which was next level frightening for a 20-something-year-old woman by herself in whatever neighborhood. And my news director could not give a shit. He was like, "You need to go cover this gang shooting that happened. Go door knock." I'm like, "Yes, let me by myself knock on doors in a neighborhood where there are known gangs and ask them if they want to talk on camera about it. That's what I want to do."
Also, no, sorry. I'm just like that. If you knocked on my
Yeah.
door and I was in a gang and you were like, can I interview? I'd be like, I'm good. I don't need the press.
Exactly. So it was moments like that that kept adding up. Um, and it started to make me sick, physically sick, where I was getting head colds all the time. And then I got the flu.
How
And
many
then I
times?
got pneumonia. And then I got shingles.
It's an older person.
Thank you. Everybody said that. They're like, "What do you mean? Isn't that what someone who's elderly gets?" And I was
We
like,
take my
"I'm
mom to get a
24."
shingles vaccine. Yeah, we get my. It's but you can stress induce it, can't you? You can stress because I know
Yeah.
3 people who have stress induced shingles at early ages.
Yeah, that's exactly what I did. I was also just
Wow.
experiencing all sorts of digestive issues at the time. I was like, everything makes me sick. What is happening?
Mm,
And I was like, is it part of the phenomenon that happens in Utah called inversion, because you're in the valley between two huge mountain ranges, and all of the smog just sits in there.
oh,
So I'm
I
like,
didn't
am
know
I
this.
sick because of the environment?
Yeah,
And also because my job is straight up killing me. And I was kind of circling the drain on it, where it had been, for context, I started my job in February, and by Christmas time, I was like, I don't think this is sustainable. I don't know if I can do this, but I have to do this. I spent $100,000 on education. I spent all of this time, this is my career, right?
yeah,
This is what I
yeah,
have to do.
yeah.
I signed a contract. This is who I am.
And this is why we don't associate everything of our being with our job anymore.
Yeah, so that was fun. When I ended up getting that sick, I was taking, what is it, prednisone or Percocet or something, or maybe both. I don't remember. And I had called out of work 2 days because I had shingles.
Yeah,
Okay.
and it's
And
painful. It's really painful.
I was in so much pain. And at the end of the second day, my news director I can't remember if he like texted me. I feel like he texted me because that's how he communicated. And he was like, hey, so if you're going to do this, you need to have like a doctor's note. I was like, if I'm going to do this, if I'm going to like be ill, okay.
Exist. Yeah.
I was like, I don't understand.
Oh, no.
And then he made me come back into work. So I was there the one day and I was like, hey, I'm on like a bunch of medication. So if you're going to send me out in the field, can you send me with a photographer? And I'll just like report like all the other reporters and not do like the multimedia journalist self whatever thing. And he was like, no, what do you mean you can't drive? And I was like, what do you mean? What do I mean? Like, I'm not going to drive. I'm not, the pill bottle says do not operate heavy machinery. Like, I'm not going to do that. So I feel like I was put in timeout because he made me just sit in the newsroom all day. And I just sat there for like 9 hours and went home and cried as one does. And then I started reaching out to like mentors that I had. And I was like, what do I do?
Yeah.
Help me.
Did any of them have good advice?
Yeah, they were like, fuck that, quit. And I was like, okay, yes. However, what do I do next?
Yeah. Also,
Like,
I have bills. That's always,
yeah. I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna fall back on that. Like this was, I thought this was what I was gonna do with my life. Like define transferable skills because everyone leaves news and goes into PR. What does that
Yeah.
look like? How do I do that? Do I put together a resume? And this is when I started like, I don't know, doing the mental gymnastics of what the rest of my life might look like, while trying to come to terms with like, this is no longer my identity. And this weird eldest daughter inner voice that was like, how am I going to tell my parents?
Always. I'm not even an oldest daughter. Sorry, I'm a youngest daughter, which gets a lot of heat. But also, how am I going to tell my parents is always a filter I have to go through. At any point, did you think it was just the environment and not the career? Or were you coming to terms with wrong environment, also wrong career for me?
I think I was coming to terms with both, especially because I was surrounded by so many people who I had actually graduated with who were kind of in the same boat. And we were all like, this feels like bullshit, right? Like we were all doing like the Spider-Man meme pointing at each other.
Yeah.
And we were like, this isn't sustainable. Are we
Yeah.
all just going to see it through? And a lot of the people who were my mentors had also left news and they were like, we get it. You want like a Monday through Friday job. You want like a 9 to 5. You want to be able to spend Thanksgiving with your family. Like you don't want to work a morning shift that is like 4 a.m. to noon
Yeah.
and then sleep for like 4 hours and
Yeah.
then have to come back in. And people are like, you look tired. Like, yeah, a little bit.
I feel like we should just get rid of that in our vocabulary. Like the next person who tells me I look tired, I'm going to literally lose my mind.
Yeah. I have
It's
like
like when we tell
really thin
women to-
skin around like my eyes. So if I'm not wearing makeup, it looks like I was punched in the eye sockets.
Mm.
And people are always like, are you sick? Are you okay? I'm like, this is my face.
Yeah, this is what
Thank
I
you.
look like. Thanks. It's like when people always tell me to smile because I have like the hardest RBF. Actually, one of the funniest stories I ever told my friends was I've been just notoriously known for having an RBF, resting bitch face. And one time I was at the mall shopping and someone walked up to me and they're like, wow, you look like such a friendly person. And I was like, oh my God, thank you. Like I was like so taken aback by the compliment. And then they tried to get me to go to church with them. So
Oh, no.
when I told the story to my friends, they all were like, you do not, you don't smile very often. So yeah, I think they just wanted you to go to church with them, not the, and I was like so excited by someone telling me I looked friendly. I don't think I have an RBF now, but I also joke, I'm like, why do you think I have no wrinkles? It's because I didn't smile for like 32 years of my life.
Yeah.
I work on smiling later in my life.
The ulterior motive is so funny. I actually have like lifelong friends like who were in my wedding, who I met in my first news job,
Yeah.
who for the longest time thought that I hated them. And I was like, no, my face is just neutral when I'm like in the zone working on something.
Same. Yeah, I don't smile very
I'm
often.
so sorry.
Doesn't mean I don't like you. One of my best friends told me that I was very intimidating when she first met me. She's still my
Tell me
best
that
friend
too. What does that
16 years
mean?
later. I do think people use that to like when you're not, I don't know. I think it's used negatively against women. Like I've had lots of men tell me I'm intimidating and I'm like, you could just tell me you're scared of me. I like that more.
Yeah.
Like, just tell me that. I'd rather hear that than you, just admit you're scared. It's okay. We'll talk about it.
Powers me
Never.
up like caffeine. Keep telling
Yeah.
me.
What do you mean? I'm Brad men's fears. This episode is gonna get like edited somewhere and we're gonna end up on some like they hate men blog.
I'm good with it.
I'm fine. It'll be okay. Okay. All of us want to know what makes people work at work. Like, how will they handle feedback or make decisions or work with the team without causing chaos? The Predictive Index uses behavioral assessments to show you how people actually think and work. So you're not guessing and hoping for the best. Maybe Mike needs structure to thrive, or Margot desires more collaboration. When you understand your people, work actually works. Take the behavioral assessment today at try.predictiveindex.com and finally get some real answers. So you're at this point, you're reconciling not environment, not career for me. I need to leave.
Yeah.
Were you financially prepared to just like leave?
Oh, that's such a hard question because it's like yes and no. No, in the sense that if I had been doing it alone, I had no money. I had no savings. The job like doesn't pay you enough to
To say,
leave.
yeah, it
Which
feels
is
like a trap.
yeah, it's a trap. My husband, who was my boyfriend at the time, and while we were in Salt Lake City, had proposed to me, which
Yeah.
in the worst time of my life, he was like, "No, it's cool. I want to do this forever." I was like, "Okay, this seems right."
Let's get
Um,
married.
Um, he was really supportive of the whole thing, even though I dragged him out of the comfort of his hometown that he had never left. And he was 26. And I was like, let's just go across the country. Let me blow up your life. And also a year later, I don't want to do this anymore. Just kidding. And he was just very like okay with it. And was like, listen, if this isn't for you, and I've seen how sick that you are, let's just go home. Whatever that looks like. We'll pay to break our lease. You can pay to break your contract if you need to, or whatever that looks like, and which was a lot of money. And we'll pay to put our stuff in like a U-Haul box and just ship it across the country, and we'll figure it out. And I also had to have a conversation with my parents that was like, hey, what if I like moved home for a hot minute? Like I know I've been on my own since I moved out to college when I was 18, and um, can I just like come back a little bit? Also, can my fiance live with us?
My parents would have loved it. They would have been like, yep. All my siblings did a tour back at home at some point, myself
Yeah.
included. All of us like went off, did something, came back for home for a bit, went off and did something again. And we all live within like a 20-mile radius of each other, actually 15-mile radius of each other now. So
Love that.
yeah, we're all near each other. But the having to do the can I come back home, I think is hard for a lot of people. It's actually like with the how terrible the job market is now. I'm hearing like more and more people are going back home to live with their parents. And I don't
Yeah.
know, my parents never shamed us for that. They were like, of course you can. Of course. Your home is our home is your home, your childhood home, whatever you need.
Yeah. And my parents were too, but there was something like as I was dialing, I was like, oh my God, they're going to be so disappointed. Like I've failed. I failed my career. I failed them. I failed myself.
Mm.
And now I have to restart and whatever that looks like. And really, I was only there for a year, and they let us live there rent free, which was really nice. But we were like paying for utilities that we were using and buying our own groceries and whatever else. And I got, I guess, majorly lucky because when I quit in February, I don't even remember, like, I think it was like February 20th.
My birthday's
Um,
the 19th, so I would have
oh,
just celebrated my
happy
birthday
birthday to you.
and then you quit it.
um, I ended up getting a job like within a month. in my hometown, which is nuts. I
Well,
interviewed for
times are
only 2
different now,
jobs.
as you
Yeah.
know. Like
Yes.
now, that's not the case, but like, no offense, back then, not to be like back then in our day, but like back then in our day,
In our
it
day.
was common that you could turn around and get a job within 6 weeks very quickly.
Yeah. I had interviewed at 2 places. One was at a university in the city, which is UPenn. That was a weird experience. I have a totally different weird story about that, where during the interview, the woman opened her desk drawer and took out a Diet Coke and just cracked it open and was just like chugging it while I had to focus and answer her questions. And I was like, what is this experience?
I am also the weirdo who I don't eat on interviews, but like I eat on a lot of meetings, so I get it. But like an in-person interview, chugging a Diet Coke is interesting work, honestly. I mean, like I'm not against a DC, but like interesting to do that.
It was wild. I never heard back from them. Like a year later, they were like, "Oh, you didn't get the job," and I was like, "Oh, really? I
Uh,
didn't."
a year, yeah. Do you think so?
Surprise, surprise. And then I interviewed at this other place where I ended up actually getting the job, which was my first foray into like PR and marketing and social. And I was really able to talk my way into the job because they did not understand what that role even was. Like they
Mm.
didn't know what they were looking for. They didn't know who would or wouldn't be qualified for it. So I really got to like make it my own. And it was good because I had something to fall back on and a place to just like experiment and learn. But it was bad because I didn't really have anyone to learn from.
So you had to
And
teach yourself.
yeah, I was like, oh, I'm making a career change into what?
And no one to teach me the thing that I needed to know, and no one's defining my expectations for me, but I'll figure it out.
Yeah, it was great.
That's
Just
life.
kidding. I was there for 3 years. I don't know why I did that.
You made it work. I've also
I
sometimes
did.
I'm like, why did I do that? But sometimes you just hang out till you figure out the right time. I'm like a
Yeah.
firm believer in like right time, right place too. Where I'm like things
Yes.
I do believe in, like I don't know if it's like the greater power of things happen for a reason, but I do believe in like the things happen for a reason kind of
Yes.
situation where I'm like it sometimes you stay at a job far too long, but it works out because then the next thing you do is the best thing you're ever gonna do.
That is exactly how it happened for me, where in the moment it felt like total chaos and I was just straight up panicking and just existing through life. Every morning I was like, okay, here we go. And every night I was like, what's sleep? I'm just going to lay here with my thoughts and wonder if I've made the right decision. And left news, worked in whatever kind of PR marketing for a few years. I ended up having my first child, and that like unlocked something in my brain that was more powerful than the I'm doing it for me and the I'm doing it for her. And I knew during my maternity leave at that job, I was like, if I go back, I will be making a mistake.
Mm.
So I didn't. I quit that job with nothing lined up.
Okay, so I'm sensing a trend here. So, like we said, the episode was about the first time we quit a job, but actually it was a career. But you also maybe it's like the first time quitting without a safety net or like a backup plan. I don't. You seem to have a trend of making up your mind and then doing it.
Yeah, you know what's insane? Because I did it again after that.
Okay, a three-peat. She said not one, not two, but 3 times I shall do it. Listen, you are far braver than me. I'm the kind of person who like would quit a job, give my 2 weeks. It would be on a Friday. I would start the Monday after. I only got to take breaks later on. And I only ever one time didn't have a plan set up. And I was
Yeah.
like already actively interviewing in like final stages of a lot of roles and got to take 6 weeks in between 2 gigs to like figure out my life. But you're far braver than me is also the theme of this episode. Why
I
do you
don't
keep doing this?
Am I brave or am I a psychopath?
I don't know.
Um, I
I ask myself that question every day. No.
also because I was raised as so many millennials are, that's like, you go to college, you get a job, that's your career. If you quit, you have something lined up. Don't
Or yeah.
quit a job until you have a job or whatever. Whatever the saying
Or
is.
like it doesn't matter how bad your job is, just keep it because
Suck it up.
you could fix it. You can fix him. And I'm just like, No, you
Yeah.
cannot fix bad organizations with
No.
terrible cultures. That's an impossible feat.
Yeah. I think what had happened in the second place that I just quit, because it sounds willy-nilly, but I put a lot of thought into it before I,
Yeah.
like, go for it.
I don't feel like you're the rage quit type. I think you're the type
No.
that's like, this is really not serving me, so I must no longer be here.
Yeah. I I kinda did rage quit the third one. I'm so sorry.
That's
I'm so
Lauren.
sorry.
Yeah. This episode is truly chaotic and I love it.
I just the middle one I had thought about for a long time, and it was like pulling a rubber band, and then it finally snapped, and the snap was like me having a child, and I was like, "Oh, I can't I can't let her see me be this way and have this relationship with my job and suffer
Yeah.
through it." I'm like, if
Yeah.
she was fresh, she would have had no idea. Um, but I would have had an idea. So I didn't have anything lined up and like was applying for things. I applied for a PR agency that was fully remote and I was like, yeah, that's what I need. And I my maternity leave was supposed to be up in like August something. So it really had been like 2 weeks between that and me starting the new job. Uh that time had lapsed. So I did that and I was like, oh, PR, this is easy. Crash course. It's just the opposite side of what I was doing in my original career. And ended up like managing 2 juniors. That was a weird experience because I was like, how do I tell them they have no idea what they're doing? And they're
Mm.
really bad at it and they're upsetting clients.
I think you could just tell them exactly that, but not you're really bad at it, but like, hey, you're kind of upsetting clients.
Yeah.
Maybe we should talk about that impact.
Yes, it was strange because then I didn't have the owner of the company was a nitwit, and I j and he was the one that hired me, because he had posted, like, in the, job description this is my favorite part of the story. He'd posted in the job description, like, what the, salary was, and I don't even remember what it was, and then in my email to me, he said it was something else, and I was like, "Oh, so you're just gonna lie about it?" And he was like, "You're hired." I was like,
Dang.
"Okay." That's the first time I've ever called someone out and it got me a job. That should have been my red flag. I don't know.
That should have been your red flag, yes. But
Yeah.
it's okay because a lot of us take jobs where we see the red flags in the interview process and we either overlook it because we really need the job or we
Yes.
think I can influence and change said thing. I have been there too.
Yeah. I think that's exactly where I was at. I was like, I need this and it can't be that bad, right? It was bad. He had me working as an independent contractor, but doing full-time employee things. So
Oh,
I was
oh, love that.
misclassified.
Love when they do that.
And yeah, and he, through a series of pissing me off, I was there until like the first week of December when he and I had multiple meetings and I was like, you have to stop like giving me the runaround on what you're going to pay me and what my responsibilities are and whatever else. And that was on a Wednesday. And then on
Mm.
Friday, I rage quit. Like, usually I'll be like, here's my 2 weeks. With my news job, I gave a month notice. I had walked into that office with a letter and I was shaking like a wet dog. And I
You're
was like,
like,
I need to talk to you about um, my future at this company.
I'm out.
And with him, I was like, hey, so I quit effective immediately. Don't ever contact me again.
Yeah, actually put me on the, like, just block me, please. I
Yeah.
don't want to hear from you ever.
Yeah. I was like, this is the bridge I'm burning. And it's funny because it was like that morning I had one last call that really just sent me through the roof. I walked into the other room where my husband was with our like 6, 7 month old. And I was like, hey, just so you know, I'm going to quit my job right now. He
And he
was
was like,
like,
okay, cool.
okay.
Sounds like a very supportive partner, though. I just got to say, another theme in this episode.
Yeah.
Very supportive.
The things that I have put him through in hindsight as it relates to my career is I don't know why he's so chill about it, but he is, and
I
I am
feel okay.
fortunate.
I will just say, I do feel like when people are like opposites attract, I'm like total opposites. No, I do think like total opposites is really hard for you to find common
Yeah.
ground, but like opposite enough where you balance each other on the things that you're bringing to the relationship, I think is very important. Like
Yeah.
he can support you while you're maybe like going through these like really intense transitions. It sounds like he's the right partner because he's like, how can I help you get through this? Versus
Yes.
like, imagine if both of you were doing that constantly. I could not handle that. I would have to see myself out of that relationship because I'd be like, too much, can't do this.
Yes. I felt, and maybe still feel a little bit selfish that I was doing that because I was also like uprooting him from his jobs.
Mm,
And then, COVID happened and he got laid off, but I didn't. And then when our daughter came, he was like, well, I guess I'll just like stay at home dad and then also like get a degree online, like because I want to pivot from sales and like maybe do IT or cybersecurity or whatever. So he was in those trenches while I was like, I'm gonna quit another job.
uh,
Yeah,
balance. That's all
I
I'm going to
know.
say. I
It
do
ended up
believe.
working out totally fine because Amy, who is my boss, was one of my clients.
And it worked out.
And I went dark. I went into the night. And months later, started working at Compt. And here I am. It was like I didn't really fail upward, but I got really lucky, I think. Where it was
Yeah.
like right place, right time with every decision that I made.
Yeah.
And in the moment, it felt like a chaotic choice. Um, but I think because it was rooted in, I need to do this for me, and this is the right decision. And I've thought about it so much that I know that no other decision could be the right one, that it like all played out really well.
I mean, I think you walked us through like three separate instances where you quit something the first time for different reasons, though. Like each one I thought was like quite valid. I don't ever need somebody to justify to me why they're quitting. Like when people give me their 2 weeks notice now, I'm always just like, I'm so happy for you that you found something else. Like that is
Yeah.
all I can wish for you. And the transitions as you go through these, I also feel like you learn a lot about yourself too. Cause like I have been where I've had to quit also really hard things that I loved and say goodbye to a team that I really wanted to stay working with, but the environment wasn't right. Like I've gone through also all these things, and each one I think teaches you something. Like, how did
Yes.
your experiences change your relationship with work? Like, we're decentering work from it, but do you feel like you're a different person now than you were then?
I'm a hugely different person. I think part of it is growing up. Part of it is growing through those experiences, and then part of it is like becoming a mom.
Yeah.
And I always thought it was really cheesy when people are like, "I have kids now. Everything's different." And I was like, "Okay, sure." Uh,
Then you had kids and you were like, I'm the asshole.
yeah, exactly. There is a lot of that because I also when I was younger I was like, "Ew, children." And now I'm like, ew, parents. That's why kids are the way they are.
Mm,
So a different dynamic. And it was, I went through a lot of different seasons of life in my 20s. That was, I think, something that people learn throughout their entire lives, but I like collapsed it into like a decade, which I
mm.
don't necessarily recommend like for your mental health. um but I I don't know any other way that I could have learned those valuable lessons. Like that I need to do it for me. Work needs to feel fulfilling and not my whole life. And you can do something that you're passionate about and like get paid for it.
Can confirm. Also, like when a lot of people talk about resilience, they're like, oh, like building resilience is so important. And I'm like, okay, you can only build resilience when you've like really gone through bad things. You don't just like wake up one morning and you're like, I'm resilient. Like as you
Yeah.
were telling the story of all the jobs you quit and the career you transitioned out of, I really couldn't help but think like you're just like a highly resilient person. By the time that third time came around, I really do feel like you were just like, I can handle this. Like, I
Yeah.
can get through it. I'm going to make it through. I'll find the path at the end of the way and it'll happen. But I mean, I think that also stood out to me. Like, you don't get to be resilient overnight. You get it through going through some really hard things. And I think that first job you had probably set you up to be able to deal with the madness of every other job after potentially.
Yeah, absolutely. It was it's weird to think about like myself as a resilient person because I feel like I'm struggling just all the time,
Everyone, I feel like I mean, I feel
right?
that way too.
Yeah.
You're also a
I
working mom, which is not easy, Lauren. Like,
Thank
just
you.
like looking at all the research and just knowing what we know, like, the world is not kind to working mothers, and working mothers have left the workforce in waves this last year because it's untenable. And
Yes.
that is so frustrating to me as somebody who does not have children but cares deeply about every single person who chooses that path for themselves. This system should support you, not chew you out and spit you out
Yeah.
because it doesn't want to change.
Yeah. You know, something that is kind of wild is maybe to say out loud is so I went in to working at Compt with one kid
Mm,
and started, and she was, geez, 9 months old at the time. She's like 4.5 now. She's almost 5 actually, in like a few weeks or something. Um, and for a really long time, I was like, I'm not gonna have another kid in this economy, and also in the state of the world. That
this is
feels like a bad choice.
yeah.
But because I am so deeply supported here, like in a shockingly healthy way, it feels weird to talk about also because I'm like, wait, this is a really good thing. Why? Because of all the past experience.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm gonna have another kid. I'm gonna do this. Like I'm set up perfectly to be able to take the time away and come back and have it not hurt my career and still get to do what I love and do it with the people that I really enjoy working with. And it worked out totally fine. And here I am, and he's like 9 months old now. That's
Yeah.
weird.
Forgot you took yeah, I was gonna say you just had a baby 9 months ago.
I know.
But it feels like you just had this baby, sorry.
Yeah, I agree. Like time is a construct. Nothing makes any sense, and it's been flying. And um, I realize I keep shouting out my husband in all of this, but he's been a stay at home dad through it. So I've gotten to advance my career extremely from where I've started, and I just keep doing it like more and more and more, and like climbing the ladder higher because I am supported in all ways, like from every angle, and that's so cool to me.
That's it's amazing to hear because we've read again, I read all the studies about even in 50-50 split relationships, the woman ends up taking on more caregiving duties. And we have ascribed to gender norms for so long that I just feel like could always be challenged. Who cares? If your husband wants to be a stay-at-home dad and be the primary caregiver, like who cares?
I
I
know.
just but there is a lot of like I do feel like there are people on the internet that say awful things about that, and I'm just like, "Why do you care what somebody else chooses to do with their life?" Because I could care less. If it's working for them, why don't you let it work for them? Like, it doesn't have to be your preference. It's their lives, leave them alone. So, I mean, I feel the same way, like, having a partner that can support you through a lot of things, give you the safety net you need when you need to leave a job, or just know that you're not alone. I think a lot of my life especially in my 20s, I was like very scared to leave jobs because I relied on myself.
Yeah.
And then when you get older and you have a partner and you have that established system, it's almost like, okay, I can maybe take more risks. And I have friends that don't have that system and they come to me for job advice. And I'm always trying to like filter it through that lens because I think the
Hmm.
advice is different depending on who you're talking to.
Yeah.
So that's a short way of saying shout out to your husband for being a supportive partner and letting you pursue your hopes and dreams. And I think more relationships would benefit from people understanding that like these ridiculous gender norms that we've put on ourselves for so long do not have to dictate how we live our lives.
Yes. I have to remind myself of that all the time because I was raised as the like, I'm an independent woman. I can do it
Same,
all on my own. And I
same.
still try to do that thing. And he was like, first of all, join me in reality. and maybe humble yourself a little bit.
I have a hard time asking for help. I think that's also just
too.
like a thing in our family as well. My sister is like very independent, and my mom, I think one time joked like, I didn't have two sons and two daughters. I raised four sons. You and your sister are like hyper independent. And I was telling a friend the other week, if you ask my mom like, what's one of your children that would like just you would call the next day, like you just talked to them, you called them the next day, and the next day they would be somewhere completely different on like an island or in a different country. And my mom would always say me. She would say I'm the kid that she would always pick to like run away and go somewhere else in the world and explore. And so I think also that bred a lot of independence. And it does make it hard when you're partnered with somebody who wants to share a burden with you and you're like, no, I need to handle it myself.
Yeah.
Somehow
Yep.
this all turned into a career and relationships podcast. I am not certified to give any relationship advice,
Neither.
but I am certified to give career advice
Yeah. It's
that I can do.
it's the intersection of the whole quote unquote work life balance, right? Because I don't know, as much as I try, I don't know how to separate my work and personal life. I don't think that my job is my entire identity now, which is a good thing. Like for the longest time, people, when they go around the room and they're like, "What's a fun fact about you?" Which, first of all, I hate.
Because what's fun to me might not be fun to you.
Yeah. And second, I never really had an answer. I was like, I don't
Mhm.
know, what do I say? What's a fun fact about me? And people always like anchor their identities in something. Like I'm a
Mhm.
mom or I'm a firefighter. And no,
That was
that's
a
your
good example.
career.
That was a good
Like,
example.
yeah. Just I don't know. That's your career. That's who you are to someone else. Who are
Yeah,
you? I'm
yeah.
like, that's a good question. And now I can say like, I'm fun fact, I do improv, or fun fact, like I still try to read as much as I can, even though like my children consume all my free time. And then by the end of the night, when I actually do have free time, I just want to turn my brain off and watch the worst possible thing I can find on Netflix. Like, you know,
Um, no, that's fair. I mean, it is interesting. I'm trying to think about what I always said for my fun facts, and my fun fact is always like, I speak another language fluently. And then I was
well,
like,
that's kind of cool.
that's a good fun fact, right?
Yeah, it's a good fun fact.
No, but mine's never about work. Again, back to like our very beginning thing. Like, I don't think we should center work as our identity ever, especially in a capitalistic society. Like, if we're lucky, we get to do work that we are passionate about, right? I feel privileged every day that I do work and I get paid to do work that I care about.
Me too.
But also, that should not define who I am as a person. There are interesting parts to me as a sister, a partner, a best friend, HR influence. There's so many other interesting things about me than the thing I do for work. But I feel like we've talked about that a lot this episode. Okay, so what do you want somebody who might be sitting in the exact same place you're sitting at in that first career that you quit? They're running on empty. They're not sure if they can keep going. What do you want them to take from your story?
Oh my God. I know that you sent me this question ahead of time, and then I thought about it literally for hours because I was like, I could say so many things. I think it comes back to the like, whatever it looks like, whatever next looks like, just do it for you.
Mm,
I realize it's scary, and maybe you're not as fortunate as I was to like have all these different people and places to fall back on. Um, but and you don't have to do anything huge, right? Like you don't have to just like go rage quit your job or not
please
have
don't.
anything
Please
set
don't.
up or
Yeah.
whatever else. But you can do something small. Like take this small step or whatever feels like a small win to you to reclaim like your you-ness.
Yeah. The claim your you-ness is so, first of all, I don't think that's a word. It sounded really weird saying it.
No.
Sorry.
I just because words are my job doesn't mean I'm good at them, okay?
Claim your you-ness is really sending me. I'm so sorry. Anyways, okay. I really like that piece of advice. I really feel like while telling us about these three journeys, you really did find where you wanted to be in the end. And so I think about that a lot when I think about how I got to where I am. I couldn't have gotten to where I am without all of these pieces. And I think early in my career, I hid a lot of myself personally. And then a lot of my frustration at work was not only about the environment, but that I also couldn't stand up for the things I believed in.
Yeah.
And so all of that contributed to who I am today when I think about why am I so vocal about the things in HR that upset me so much. It's
Same.
because I couldn't for so long say those things. I couldn't be the me I wanted to be. I couldn't embrace my you-ness.
Yeah.
I'm
I
dying.
am so tired
Yeah.
of censoring myself.
Yeah.
Or softening myself for to be palatable to other people. Like I need to do it for me.
Yeah.
Life's too short.
Life's too short to be anybody else other than yourself.
Yeah.
But Lauren, this was so fun. We finally made it happen.
Yay!
We did it. We recorded a whole episode. We didn't get too off base. We got through your firsts. Firsts, I said plural because we got to a lot of firsts, actually.
I am so sorry.
For people looking to get in touch with you, how can they get in touch with you?
Oh, any which way. You'll see me out on the internet because I like to pretend that I'm an influencer, even though I'm not.
Are.
Yeah, maybe. I post on LinkedIn all the time, so you can just search my name and there I am. Slide into my DMs in an HR appropriate kind of way.
Love.
You can email me. I'm Lauren at compt.io. I don't know. Maybe we can like do some Zoom chats and then next thing you know, we have each other's numbers and we text. That happens a lot for me.
That happens a lot. Also, can you text me after this? Because I'm not sure I saved your number and my texts are a mess right now.
That's fine. I saved your number, so it'll be okay.
I watch you text me pop up and it is your number saved. My texts are a fresh hell. I have 579 unread texts. I'm working on it.
No, I can't do that. That's
Oh my
not
God.
life
Maybe
for
I should
me.
delete that one. That's kind of crazy. Okay. Well, so my friend has a joke where she's like, you either reply to a text in 3 minutes or 3 business days. And I'm like, I think that's a fair timeline. You're either getting my immediate response or you're getting my response in 3 business days. Just get over it. Okay. I cannot wait for more collaborations in the future. Maybe you come back for our next episode or Amy comes on at some point too. Amy, your CEO at Compt, because I would love to have her on.
Yes.
Again, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for spending time with me today. And thank you for making me think about my you-ness, something I will continue to giggle about.
I hate that I said that. Oh, keep it in. Don't edit it out.
I love that you said that. The episode title is going to be Embrace Your You-ness. Two grown women
I'm going to
giggling
think about this
about
for the
that.
rest of my life. This
I'm
is
so
one
sorry.
of those trauma moments that I'm going to like
It's on
when
the
I'm having a
internet,
good
baby.
day. Think about it 20 years from now.
Dead. With that, I have to end our episode.
Thanks for tuning in. Keep up with all the latest HR resources by subscribing on Apple, Spotify, Google, or wherever you listen. And if you love I Hate It Here, tell an HR friend. I'll see you next time.